want to grow more vocabulary, I suggest you also listen to some songs, you know, like rap songs and stuff, good rap songs. That would be great. And read English Mania book. English Olympiad has given 2 books, English Mania 1 and English Mania 2. Read those books and your English is going to fly. Trust me when I say that. And practice tongue twisters. That's how you're going to do good in spoken English. Okay, so we have one of my favorite tongue twisters. So it goes, how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would? He would chuck as much as he could and chuck as much as the woodchuck would if a woodchuck would. Okay, so it is about a woodchuck chucking a lot of wood. And someone's asking if a woodchuck would chuck wood, how many times would he chuck? And it's confusing. I could go on forever. So as it's a long tongue twister, you have to say it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. And guys, make sure you don't mispronounce any words, because as this is a competition, your every single word counts. So how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. So if you say it really fast, it goes, how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck would chuck wood. So that's how you say it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. Let's start with, sorry?
It's me.
You want to say
I want to say first.
Go ahead.
Because it's my favorite.
Yeah.
So I want to say it fast.
Okay, sure, Abra, go ahead. You could say it fast. First and fast, both. Start.
2 times. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood. 3 times. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. 5 times. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Done.
I knew it. I knew it. You'd finish in 1 minute 30 seconds. That's really not fair. You said it so fast, man. Now I feel bad. What Mr. Nilra said, "Amar dadgulo pore jeto eta porle." Well, it's easy if you could say it slowly. Practice
Yes,
and dadgula porbe na. I know.
So I practiced a lot.
You say it so fast. I don't even practice. Like, I don't know, man. You said it's. I should practice from today. I'm gonna sit with a book this fat, tongue twisters, and I'm gonna win the next show. I'm not gonna host. I'm gonna compete. Hopefully. Okay, let's move on to Miss Samia. That was amazing, mesmerizing, Abrar. That was really great. I'm really happy that you're practiced and you're taking this seriously. Thank you so much. So let's move on to our beautiful Miss Samiha. Miss Samiha, you can say it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. Start.
2 times. How much would woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and he chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could woodchuck could. Three times. How much would a woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck? He would chuck. He would as much as he could, and he chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck food. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Five times. How much would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck would chuck wood. How much would woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and he would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck would chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck would chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Thank you.
Welcome. That was amazing, Samiha. That was really great. Let's move on to our doll, Miss Nusrat. So you can start, Miss, 2 times, 3 times, 5 times.
Okay, two times. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck would chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Two times. Three times. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He could chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Three times. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood could woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck and wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he could as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. The last time. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Miss Nusrat. That was great. Let's move on to our beautiful Miss Obanti. So can you hear me, Miss Obanti?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. You could start 2 times, 3 times, and 5 times.
2 times. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. 3 times. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much as would a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. 5 times. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he could as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much as wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as woodchuck would if woodchuck could chuck wood. How much would woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Thank you.
Welcome. That was great, Miss Albanti. That was really nice. So, as I promised the viewers that if they drop comments, I'm going to be reading them. So, of course, I'm going to read them because I'm a nice person. I hope I am a nice person. So, Miss Mahjabin Lucky said, "Love you, Ma." Jannatul Nusrat bin Sumaya. Okay, we're having comments for Sumaya. And a lot of people have been asking. Okay, Miss Zubili Bint Ali said, "I love you, Samiha, your mother." So Miss Samiha's mother is commenting down below. My mom, right now, my mother is sleeping because she knows that I'm hosting right now. She's closed the door and she's sleeping, sound sleep, because her daughter is awake and no one can get in. Mr. Hassan Muhammad Mohiuddin said, "Would you mind to suggest a book for tongue twister?" Okay, I have a book for you. It is the English Mania 2. If you can buy the English, oh, it's here. English Mania 2, the Touchstone. There is a book published by English Olympiad, the English Mania 2 book. So I used to teach in a school. I know I'm really young. I'm only 18, but I used to teach in a school before last year. And there to the students, they were also the participants of EO. So they always used to ask me how to do well in tongue twisters. So they bought the English Mania 2 book. There are so many things there, so much helpful. Like I myself read this book sometimes when I need confidence, sometimes when I'm confused regarding phonetics. They have huge chapters regarding, mental health. Then they have, like a lot of things, and especially there is a tongue twister part. There are so many tongue twisters, so many. And you can see new types of tongue twisters, short, long, so many. So if you want to do good in tongue twister, buy the English Mania 2, the Touchstone, that book. It's not even that expensive, okay? It's not even that expensive. It's gonna help you in every stage of your life, like even like pronunciation, how to introduce yourself, like how to pronounce a word, how to give pressure to each word. Like there's everything in that book, everything. And that's really helpful. That's really great. So I think you could buy that book and that'd be really great. So let's read the other comments really quick. Do we have more comments? Selena Akhtar ma'am said, "I had participate in 10th episode. It's an amazing show. I